Okay, I've told you about book number 1, book number 2. Now I'm talking about book number 3. Book number 3 is Juanita's story. So far, most of you know that one of my characters, Juanita, decided she wanted to be a part of the correctional industry. And she had her own personal agenda for doing so. Okay, the book will take you back to Juanita's childhood, around about in her teen years. And it will tell you of some of her history of her growing up and so forth and so on. But then she gets to this point where her life begins to change to the point where love was more important than anything else. You know, a lot of people, all of us, have been in love as teenagers. So was Juanita. But Juanita's quest for love followed her into her adulthood. So I'm going to read a little bit of Juanita's story to you, just to give you kind of a brief of what's going on, but not much. And if you want to, read the rest of it, you can always get the book on Amazon. But I'm going to read a little bit to you. Before I read Juanita's story, book 1 is Behind the Walls Women in Corrections. Book 2, Behind the Walls, An Administrative Ghost Native. My mother left Juarez, Mexico years before my brother and I were born. A few years after departing Mexico, she met an over-the-road truck driver in El Paso, Texas, had a one-night stand, and became expectant with twins. Out of a joyful sexual encounter, Romelo and Juanita Martinez were born. Juanita is my genuine name, but everyone calls me Juanita Anita. I answer to all three. We lived in El Paso until Romelo and I were in middle school. My mother, Maria Martinez, met another driver named Jack Thomas and fell head over heels in love with him. At the time, my mother was an exotic dancer and worked part-time as a housekeeper at a hotel. Her search for the right one stopped when she met Jack, who ripped my life apart. And as you read the story, you will find that it gets more interesting and gets deeper and deeper. But Juanita had her own personal agenda for what she done. And she pulled one of her friends into the prison system to work. And that friend became an undercover administrator. And that's in book 2. But book 1 introduces you to all the main characters and some of the characters that you will meet throughout the book. They are different. I have, like I mentioned earlier in one of my posts, I have so many characters in my books, I don't know how I kept up with them all. But please read Juanita's story if you want to know what happened. Juanita's story. Juanita, she had me confused. Wow, she took me on a journey. Well, next, I'll read some of book number 4 to you. My name is Karen Myers. I am the author of the series Behind the Walls and a former correctional officer of 30 years service, retired, and now an author.